President Trump has about 12 hours to make a decision that nobody in Washington, D.C. wants to talk about. He has to sign a housing bill that's been held hostage, or veto it and dare his own party to override him. Or he could do nothing and watch his leverage expire at midnight. Folks, here's what's actually happening. Okay, 2 weeks ago, Congress passed a bipartisan housing affordability bill, overwhelmingly, both chambers. The kind of bill that gets a signing ceremony with a smiling senator behind the desk. And Trump canceled the ceremony. He said it plainly. He will not sign it until the Senate passes the Save America Act.
America is back, and we want to keep America great, and we will do so by approving the Save America Act, which means all voters must show voter ID.
It's proof of citizenship to register. It's proof of ID to vote. The bill that the House now passed 3 times. And President Trump didn't stop at housing. He said he won't sign the FISA reauthorization either. So he has 2 hostages and 1 demand. But here's the detail the coverage keeps on skipping over. The Constitution gives the president 10 business days to either sign the bill, veto it, or it'll become law without their signature. And that clock started when the bill hit his desk, and it runs out tomorrow. So here's where things get serious. Tomorrow, Trump has 3 doors. Door 1, he signs, the hostage play ends, and the Senate learns his deadlines are negotiable. Door 2, he vetoes a housing bill that passed both chambers overwhelmingly. And if you do the math on those margins, folks, that puts a veto override in play. An override would be the first of his presidency on a bill his own voters want in an election year. Or he has door 3. He does nothing. The bill becomes law anyway, and the leverage just evaporates. Now, that is not a corner the media put him in. It's a corner the Senate put him in. And the question now is, which door is he going to take? Because every one of them tells us something about the next 4 months. Now, let's stack the facts here, because the fight has numbers on it. The Senate has voted on this twice, failed twice. 53 Republicans, and you need 60. There's a 0 chance that 7 Democrats will cross over on election integrity. 0. Even Speaker Johnson admits that math on camera. So the House, well, their hardliners took matters into their own hands. Anna Paulina Luna and 13 Republicans killed a procedural rule on the floor. The vote was 198 to 224. Every Democrat plus 17 Republicans, including Steve Scalise. And before you ask, Scalise voted no on purpose. It's a procedural move that lets him bring the rule back up. That reconsideration vote is sitting there, loaded for July 13th when the House comes back. So Luna's position was simple: the SAVE Act or no House business. In her words, she doesn't care who in the chamber hates her for it. And Speaker Johnson, well, he came out to answer on Fox News this past Sunday. He's putting the Save America Act into a 3rd budget reconciliation bill. Reconciliation 3.0 is what they're calling it. And it's a package deal that he says will be an irresistible for any Republican. I guess that's where his own team split in public, I guess. So before I show you why, do me a favor. Like the video, subscribe, okay? House comes back July 13th, and I'm covering every vote as this fight continues, because it's one of the most important that we have right now in our political paradigm. Okay? Reconciliation 3.0. Anna Paulina Luna went straight at it. Her post that she put up on X, word for word, is that the Save America Act cannot be placed in reconciliation, and she's not drinking the Kool-Aid. And Tom Tillis, the senator, went further. He called the whole thing theater, said the bill is dead without 60 votes and everybody knows it. So who's right? Speaker Johnson or Luna? That's the part where having actually filed to run for this body matters. Many of you know I ran for Congress. I understand how they do business. Okay, now let me decode it for you. Reconciliation lets you pass a bill with 51 votes instead of 60. But there's a gatekeeper, the Byrd Rule. Everything in a reconciliation bill has to be primarily about the budget, spending, or revenue. Okay, the Senate parliamentarian rules on it line by line. A voter ID mandate is policy, not budget. she trips it. That already happened once. Johnson knows that. So look at what he actually is building. Not a mandate, but a grant program. Federal money that states can draw down if they adopt election integrity measures. Money is budget. Budget survives the Byrd Rule. That's the whole trick. Which means both of them are telling you the truth about different bills. Luna is right that the SAVE Act, as written, cannot be reconciliation. Speaker Johnson is betting a pile of federal cash with strings attached can. And the difference matters. A mandate binds all 50 states. A grant program only moves the states that want to take the money. Red states take it, blue states don't. The question then that every Republican will have to answer next week is whether half a loaf through reconciliation beats a whole loaf that never passes. And that's the real fight on the 13th. Not Republicans versus Democrats. It's going to be Republicans versus their math. So if you strip away all the procedures, the question is simple. If requiring an ID to vote is as popular as every poll says it is, why does it take hostages? Why does it need blockades? Why does it need a budget loophole to get these people to vote on it? It's not a process problem, folks. It's a Washington, D.C. problem. And this is why tomorrow matters, beyond one housing bill. Whatever door President Trump takes is going to set the temperature for July 13th. If he holds the line, then Anna Paulina Luna's blockade has White House air cover, and Speaker Johnson has to deliver. If he folds, then, well, every holdout senator learns the deadlines are bluffs, and Reconciliation 3.0 will lose its teeth before it's even written. And all of it runs into the same wall, the midterms. Election law has to change, and it has to change before an election to matter. It won't be able to take place in that election if it doesn't change before it. The window for 2026 elections, specifically the midterms, is closing in real time. That's why the clock, and not the bill, is the real story. So we have to watch for three things. Okay, tomorrow, to watch to see if President Trump either signs, vetoes, or silences. The silence is a fold with extra steps, and he may do that. On July 13th, we have to watch the Steve Scalise reconsideration vote. If the rule passes, the blockade's over, and Johnson bought himself a runway. If it fails again, the House floor stays frozen, and this party will have a real problem. And the week after, well, the actual test will be Reconciliation 3.0. We'll have to watch whether the election language is a mandate or money. That single word tells us if this is a plan or a press release. 50 senators already voted on this bill. 80% of the country agrees with it. And the only way anyone can find it to pass is a hostage play or a budget loophole. They don't fear voter ID. They fear a floor vote they'd have to explain. And they're on the clock. So, Washington, D.C., you have to love them. Anyway, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Should Trump veto the bill? Should he force them into an override fight? Or do you think Speaker Johnson's grant program is the smarter play? No. Let me know what you think. I read every comment, so if not, I'll see you when the House comes back in session. Unless I do another video before then.